After we finished our dinner of grilled chicken breast marinated in pomegranate juice and spinach walnut salad with orange vinaigrette, my stepmother is a skillful, if fussy, cook. Ashley called. She was buzzing with news of some sort. I told her I would discuss it tomorrow and hung up hastily. The irresistible accountant disapproves of teenagers talking on the telephone. She especially disapproves of Ashley. Having extracted my father from his messy life, she wants to simplify and straighten out the only aspect that he couldn't entirely leave behind: me. In her view, Ashley belongs to the world of mess. Amy much prefers Samantha, holding her up as an example of ideal girlhood. Although the feeling isn't mutual, Samantha always advises me to keep the peace with my stepmother. Ash, in contrast, speaks her mind and encourages me to speak mine. "Was that Ashley on the phone, sweetie?" asked Amy. "I wish you would ask that girl not to call during family time. Your father and I only get to see you for a few precious hours a week. I think it's very inconsiderate of her not to respect that." "Yeah, you wouldn't want to waste a precious minute that you could be spending picking at me and criticizing my friends." This is what I did not say to Amy. If I had $1 for every sharp remark I kept to myself, I would be able to fund the Step-Family Peace Prize, my dream version of the Nobel, to be awarded annually to the person who displays the greatest familial restraint. I considered it especially unfair that, having voluntarily given up the pleasure of talking to Ashley, I should still have to listen to my stepmother's complaints, just as if Ash and I had yapped away on the phone for hours. "Don't you agree, Steve?" said my stepmother. "Yes, of course," said my father, getting up and heading to his study. He stopped on the way to kiss his wife on the top of her head. "I love to see my two favorite girls together. You two sit here, relax, and catch up." I waited until the door had swung shut behind him, then took my bag and headed upstairs to my room, which I share with the IA's sewing machine. The knowledge that she has an excuse to enter at any moment makes the room feel less than comfortable and far from private. Still, at least I would be alone there. "Where are you going, sweetie?" she asked. "Homework." "How can you have homework when school doesn't start for another week?" "Summer reading," I lied. I had already finished the assigned book, Lord of the Flies, back in June. "Really? What are they having you read? Let's see," she said, reaching for my book. "Oh, you lucky girl, Jane Austen, Sense and Sensibility. I love that book. She's my favorite writer. The romance between your father and me was straight out of an Austen novel." "Right, like Jane Austen wrote about igsome schemers who steal other people's husbands," I didn't say. I awarded myself an imaginary $1 for refraining, bringing the total of the evening up to $2, and escaped upstairs. When I got home the next morning, I slipped next door in search of news. Finding Ashley still asleep, I pounced on her toes. She gave a most satisfactory squeal. "Juniper, get off!" she cried, mistaking me for her kitten. Mewing and pinching, I attempted to keep her in the dark as to my true identity. Pretty soon, however, she stopped thrashing blindly, opened her eyes, and identified me as a member of the human race. "Oh, it's you. What are you doing up so early? What time is it?" "Long past a bat's bedtime. Get up, lazy bones." Ashley buried her head under her pillow. I like morning. It's the only time when my enthusiasm outstrips hers. "Fine. I guess you don't want to tell me your news, then," I said, making a feint toward the window. That roused her. She sprang out of bed. Or, more accurately, she rose with a speed somewhat greater than that of a daffodil emerging from the moist earth in March. In a mere 20 minutes, she had put on a selection of interesting clothes and her Austen-esque manner. "Let us repair to your abode, where there is more room, my dear Miss Lefkowitz." "You mean your dear Julie?" "Quite right, my dearest Julia. Let us repair to your abode, where there is more room." "More room for what?" I asked, retreating through the window. Ashley followed me out. Our rooms are more or less the same size, but in the course of her enthusiasms, Ashley had accumulated far more stuff than I have. In particular, one large papier-mâché dragon hanging from the ceiling tends to bump you on the head if you try to walk across her room without looking both ways first. Well, it bumps me, anyway. "Dancing lessons, Twinkle Toes," she explained, diving through my window and landing on my bed. "If we are to discharge our duties as party guests with the dignity that befits our position as ladies, we must learn to perform the required steps. I have here a book," she thumped the pillow with it, "that promises to instruct us in the art of terpsichore." "Whoa there! You want us to learn how to dance by reading a book called The Art of Sick Twerpery? Have you lost your lemon drops?" "Not sick twerpery, terpsichore. Terpsichore, the muse of dance. It is she who breathes life into the limbs of the dancers as they perform their graceful movements." She flung her arms out to demonstrate. A series of crashes followed. Luckily, nothing broke. "Very graceful," I said, putting my desk lamp back on my desk. "Okay, so you want us to learn to dance by reading a book called The Art of Terpsichore?" No, The Art of Terpsichore is merely a description of the book's contents. The volume itself is called Dancing. To be precise, dancing and its relations to education and social life, with a new method of instruction, including a complete guide to the cotillion, German, with 250 figures, by Alan Dodworth, published in New York, 1888. New and enlarged edition. "I don't care what it's called. You can't learn to dance by reading a book." "Yes, you can. It has 250 figures, see?" She opened the book to show me. "Number 48, The Inconstants," I read. 3 couples. They arrange themselves in a phalanx behind the conducting couple. The first gentleman turns round, giving his left arm, crossed at the elbow, to the left arm of the gentleman behind him, with whom he changes places and partners. He goes on without interruption to the last lady. When he reaches the last, the second gentleman, who is then at the head of the phalanx, executes the same figure, and so on for the rest, until everyone has regained his place. General waltz follows. Well, that's as clear as crumb cake. "Nonsense, it's perfectly simple. The first gentleman goes like this, then the second gentleman goes like that, then he takes the lady's arm and they go like this, and meanwhile the third gentleman goes like that, and the lady goes like this, and the other couple does the same thing, and then they all dance.